From Iraq to Palestine!
From Iraq to Palestine!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
From Iraq to Palestine!
From Iraq to Palestine!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
From Iraq to Palestine!
From Iraq to Palestine!
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime!
And the siege of Gaza! Free Palestine! And the siege of Gaza!
There is a siege being held in Gaza. Work being done between Israeli and Egyptian governments to ensure that goods going across borders don't reach Palestinians who are in desperate need of them.
I think it's great injustice done to the Palestinian people. 3 generations born and growing up in the refugee camps. It's intolerable. The thought itself is intolerable.
I know enough about the history, or feel I know enough about the history in order to make a statement about it, and that I know enough about what's going on at this very moment to make a statement about it. And I know that it's wrong.
In Canada per se, I think there's been a sea change in people's attitudes or in terms of Palestine. I remember back in the summer of 2006 when people came out in their mass numbers against the war in Lebanon.
It is a very good thing to have Jewish people from the community, in Jewish community and the Palestinian community or Arab community to work together peacefully. It's good, great.
Palestine will be free! Will return! Refugees will return! Harper, you must learn!
Harper, you must learn!
The refugees will return!
Refugees will return!
Harper, you must learn!
Okay, so I'm here to introduce our speaker, Ahab Lotayef, one of the speakers today. I first met Ahab a few years ago at a benefit concert called Artists Against Apartheid. He was reading one of his poems called For the Love of a Palestinian Woman. And it was a beautiful poem. And then the next time I ran into Ahab, he gave me a ride to a demonstration in Ottawa from Montreal where to repatriate Omar Khadr, and he had me dress up in an orange jumpsuit and a black hood and sit on a little piece of wood while he yelled through the megaphone at Stephen Harper's house to repatriate Omar Khadr. So Ahab Lotayef is a wonderful activist who's been a veteran activist for Palestinian human rights as well as human rights around the world.
I'm really happy to be here. I'm happy to be here because I traveled to Palestine, or at least with the destination to go into Palestine 4 times during 2009. This is the largest warehouse inside Gaza that was a United Nations warehouse that was totally destroyed and all the stuff in it was damaged. Schools, an international American school built by American taxpayers' money. Israel destroyed it as well. This particular ambulance had a medic killed in it as it was destroyed. But this damage in the backside of it did not result from that incident. This was due to a bomb falling in the yard of the hospital after it was deemed useless and it was just parked there. And by the way, there is no repair for vehicles inside Gaza. When you go to a children's center and you see a drawing like we probably all have drawn, no matter how good or bad we used to draw when we were in primary school, with the sun and a tree and a flower, and we realize that the kids in Gaza add a helicopter gunship and a missile and a bomb to that very basic child's drawing, we realize something is wrong and we have to work to fix it. We shouldn't be able to sleep at night knowing that this is what children draw somewhere in the world. So we started working on it right away between the United States, Canada, France, Italy, Belgium, Portugal, and many other smaller groups in Greece, in Britain, in Spain. We started to coordinate together and say, we will have a march in Gaza at the anniversary of the start of the war and bring world's attention. The first thing that happened, the night of the 27th, the French delegation, about 300 people, arrived in Cairo were planned to take buses from their gathering point was there in front of their embassy, to take buses to go directly to Al Arish and then to Gaza. The security forces arrived, forced the buses to leave without allowing the people to get on the buses. The French camped in front of their embassy, and for 7 days, first they blocked the street, and that is not heard of in Cairo. They blocked one of the main streets in Cairo. So the Israeli embassy, the next day we gather in front of the zoo. What a magnificent place to gather. And again, it's a flash mob action. As soon as you see the flag, you just join the flag, and we cross. And this time, the police was really taken by surprise. We had the street for ourselves for 25 minutes before they could show up. Really, they were at loss. I mean, the high ranks appeared first, and they were trying, just go away. And nobody, of course, would give them any attention. And last but not least, was the most significant place in Egypt. At the initiation of the South African delegation, they wrote the Cairo Declaration, and we modified it together and we signed it together. And it's not just a declaration of theoretical positions. It is a plan of action in support of the boycott, boycott, disinvestment, and sanctions that I believe is a tool for all of us now to work with. So I hope that, and I will end here, that Halifax be one of the centers where the implementation of the Cairo Declaration takes place loud and clear. Thank you very much for having me.
My first trip to Israel and the West Bank, which happened in '88 or '89, I wrote a series of 2 or 3 articles for the Saskatoon Star-Phoenix about the occupation and why the occupation was wrong. And as a result of that, it was published in, I'd say, 1989 in Saskatoon. And as a result of that, I was persona non grata at the synagogue. Now, you have to understand, I'm the least religious person you're ever going to meet. But both my husband and I grew up with Jewish educations and in religious families. However, I never agreed with what Israel was doing, of course, and it wasn't that much of a hardship for me to be excluded from the synagogue. The problem was, when it came time for my children's bar mitzvahs, we had to have them at the faculty club at the University of Saskatchewan rather than at the synagogue.
I cannot go to Gaza after finishing my master's degree.
Well, welcome to Halifax.
Thank you, and I'm pleased to meet you. I hope to be a friend.
Are you going to be part of the CAJJP at all?
Yeah, I wrote my email and I will contact them.
Do you think there can ever be a time when Jewish people and Palestinian people can live together in peace?
In my language. أعتقد إنه ممكن يصير بين المعتقدين باليهودية والناس المعتقدين بالعرب الإسلام، لأنه حابب أوضح نقطة إنه مشكلتنا مش مع اليهود كديانة، مشكلتنا مع الاحتلال الإسرائيلي والحركة الصهيونية.
It's not about the Jews itself, because what he said that Jewish people lived with Muslims for so long time, there was no problems at all.
I think that the difficulty is, the number one thing that has to happen is that the U.S. has to stop its blind support and its financial investments in Israel. The U.S. has to stop giving billions of dollars every single year to the state of Israel. If Israel comes to its knees because there's no more money for education, for welfare, and for the military, I think eventually something can be hammered out. But as long as Israel is supported by the U.S., no matter what they do, I don't think there's any way to have peace.